Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to my part 2 of the J-Bay Fancy Surfer picks. In this video I'm going to look through what my actual picks are, talk to you about what the actual surf forecast is. Let's get straight into it. First things first, let's have a look at the surf. I'll overlay the footage over the screen from Magic Seaweed. Thanks as always to them for letting us use the footage, really appreciate it. Check them out, I'll link them below if you don't already know who they are. But chances are if you're watching this video and you're into surfing, you probably already do. So yeah, big thanks to them, as I say. So if I'm looking down, that's because I'm looking at the surf. I'm not just looking into nowhere. So we're actually pretty gifted for this waiting period. Firstly, it's quite a long waiting period, hence why this video is so late in coming. Next though, look how much swell we have. So the first day of the period on the 6th, we have some big swell with some not far from the pretty strong winds. I'll overlay the winds forecast later. We're talking, according to Magic Seaweed, 39-mile-an-hour winds with up to 50 miles an hour gusts in the morning. That obviously next day, the winds have dropped slightly, surf's dropping slowly, but we just have a almost non-stop run of swell. So I know J-Bay was a question mark over whether the event would be held or not after the incident which occurred last year, but God, it's delivered on surf, hasn't it? So it looks at the moment like the best charts we've seen. I'm sure, given how long the period is as well, that Kieran Pro and the other guys will be able to pick out the good days. Something really to look forward to. With no further ado, here's my team. So I've gone with pretty much a lot of the guys that I picked in my dream team selection just happen to be available because it's been such a mixed up year with surfers having bad performances and other surfers having good performances. I've managed to fill it with a team of guys who I like. That, as this year's proven, doesn't necessarily mean you've got a great team. I mean, people like Kelly at the moment are so cheap that they're cheap for a reason though. I mean, you see Kelly was a great pick, but he's so cheap because he's not just not performed well this year, but he's not performed well for a long time really. The odd performance here and there, but Fiji to me looks like he's back on it, so Kelly's in my team. Next up, Connor Coffin. A bit of a risk in the bigger surf, but I wanted somebody in the lower brackets. He's only 3,250 on the fancy surfer that Surf Mag provide. So great option there for filling out the lower ranks so I can afford some more expensive surfers. Next up, I've gone for Sea Bass, Sebastian Zietz. It's probably one of my more risky picks, but again I wanted somebody cheap. He's so cheap this year because of the wildcard slot he's getting onto events. He had some great performances, let's not forget, at the start of the year on right hand point breaks, so hopefully he can bring that across into the bigger stuff. He's from Hawaii, he's used to big open water surf, so let's hope he can put it together in J-Bay. I've jumped back up to my more expensive guys now. I've gone Gabriel Medina, just looks hot at Fiji, looks really good. I've gone John Florence. I think as the year as a whole, I think he's going to be fighting for the title at the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gabriel there too. Both of them I think are just clicking perfectly right now. If it's big for Fiji, for J-Bay, it's again something which sort of sets John on fire a bit more, wakes him up when the surf's more big and surfable. Next up, Julian Wilson. I think he proved in Margaret River. He's good in big right-hand point breaks, so he proved as well at J-Bay last year. Maybe not as big as it's looking this year, but I just think, as I mentioned in my last video, again I'll link that below, I keep referring to the last video, if you've not seen it I will link it below, so you can see exactly what I said at length about these guys' previous track records. But Julian does have a great track record in these types of waves. Next up, Jordy Smith. He's a pretty expensive, pretty risky pick when there's people like Joel Parker in that region. You've got Jeremy Flores, Michelle Perez, Adrian Buchan. There's loads of Wiggly Dontas. There's loads of guys, Nat Young. See, the list goes on. There's so many guys in that region who I put pretty similar, and I think those are the guys who are going to make or break your fantasy picks. So give it some thought. I've probably gone for the more obvious one that will probably be picked by loads of people, and he's not had the best of times recently as a whole. But I just think Jordy at J-Bay, you have to, don't you? I don't know, do you? Tell me in the comments below, do you? I do, personally. Finally, rounding off my team, Matty Wilkinson. Again, not necessarily the most expected guy to do good, but he's so good on his backhand. He's having such a good year, and I got him so cheap at the start of the year. I mean, I paid $5,500 for him at the first event of the year. He's now $8,000. I ain't getting rid of him personally on that for as long as he stays as good as that price-wise. We're also running into a load of events, I'd say up until Pipe, where I'd expect him to perform well, so I want to keep him in there. So jumping over to my World Surf League team, it's actually pretty similar. I'll run through it quickly because it does differ slightly because of the way they categorise everything in categories on the world rankings, whereas Surfer Mag do it more on ratings and the money values. So in my tier A, I've got Gabriel Medina and Matty Wilkinson. Both of them are in my other team, so I don't have to say much about them. In my tier B, it's very similar to my other team: Connor Coffin, Jordy Smith, Julian Wilson. The only difference is Mick Fanning. Mick Fanning's great on these types of waves. I don't think the shark tackle phase him too much in itself. I think he's good at putting stuff like that behind him. I do have a note that he's recently had a bit of an injury, and I know it's not too much. I know in the stuff that's come out he's said he's hoping to compete and it shouldn't affect him and stuff, but it always just gives me slight nerves picking people when they've had those types of injuries. He's made it to this team, but those reasons are why he's not in my other team. Those reasons to me were balanced out with it still made him better than the other people in that category. And rounding out in tier C, I've got Kelly Slater, and who's in my other team, the Surfer Mag team, and finally Adam Melling. Adam Melling, great in right hand point breaks. You may have noticed from the overlay that I put in my previous screen, he was my wildcard spare selection in the Surfer Mag version. Somebody who I think could put in a good result, and not somebody whose name's touted. He's very cheap and performing pretty badly at this time of year for Adam, but he's someone I think could perform well too. Both of these guys really shouldn't be in tier C though. Adam Melling is the best ranked server in tier C, another thing that makes him an attractive pick for me, and Kelly Slater shouldn't be in there. I think both of those guys are probably going to be quite highly selected percentage-wise, so if you're playing a tactical game and looking to choose somebody who isn't going to be picked by loads of other people, probably not guys to go for. But if, like me, you've not had the best year so far and you're wanting to put in some guys who are going to put in a good performance, a solid performance, get you some good points and hopefully up the leaderboard a bit, I think they're good picks. Cheers for tuning in though guys, really appreciate all the views these videos are getting. If they're helpful to you and you're enjoying them, please press like below. If they're not helpful, don't press dislike, because I don't know why you don't like them and why they're not helpful. Whack in the comments, tell me. I want this channel to be helpful and useful to you guys, so if you whack it in there, I will do what I can to hopefully improve the videos and improve what I'm giving to you guys. If you're watching this and you're not yet subscribed, it'd be awesome if you press subscribe. You will get notifications every time new videos come up. I'm doing a product review very soon on the GoPro mount that I used recently in Cornwall on holiday. I've just left the mount down there and I'm waiting for that to be returned to me. Once I've got that back, I'll get a review up and tell you guys what I think of that. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon. Cheers, bye.